Today, we're talking to Alex Mashrabov, founder at Higgsfield AI, about his outlook on Gen AI video creation, how Google Cloud supports them as a startup, and more. You're listening to Joel Beasley, Modern CTO.
So I wanted to start with, I was kind of surprised about this, but the idea that everyone needs to be prepared because in the next 3 years, 90% of pixels will be generated by AI. Is this true? How did you come to this conclusion?
Thank you very much for jumping straight to this. So there is a great possibility of this happening for sure. I think there are several trends which tells us that we definitely move into this direction. So first of all, we definitely are seeing that longer tail of content is actually increasing. Importance of longer tail of content is becoming critical. We're seeing explosion of faceless channels on YouTube. Each of them is, there are probably not so many AI-generated faceless channels on YouTube just yet, but many faceless AI channels creators make a few $1,000s a month, and we can find these stories on Reddit. I believe that generative AI can deliver the personalization across this longer tail of contents. And we also are seeing that the quality of AI-generated videos is just getting better every month. If this pace of innovation continues, and no major regulation appears, then we're very likely to wake up one morning and realize that most of the content that we consume is generated with AI.
And I like your take on it. Your take, and I'm going to most likely mess this up, but there were several value props on your landing page for your application. And one of them I found fascinating, and it's that they put you at the center of the story. So I can take my picture, just one photo, and it will map onto the mail and a story and act out that story, short story. But then it looks like I'm watching a movie, like a small short movie with me in it. And I never thought of the you component. Like I thought I would be driving home from pizza and I would tell my AI, hey, I want to watch a new Adam Sandler movie with my kids, and it would be ready by the 45 minutes by the time I drove home, right? I could click play and I could watch Adam Sandler. So I thought about it in the sense of my existing habits. I never thought about it in the sense of like putting myself into the story. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think this is just probably maybe the easiest type of personalization which generative AI enables. You probably can remember that like maybe 2 years there was a popular application called Lensa where everyone was generating like pictures of themselves being like astronauts and so on. And I think this is just the beginning. It's just gonna become so easy to create any type of content, including contents featuring you and your friends. And I think this definitely sparks human creativity of where it can go. I think there is definitely a piece about deepfakes and concerns about that. And I'm really glad that, over the last maybe few months, some leading companies in this space like OpenAI and Google, they are starting to establish new standards in that space.
And, at first I thought deepfakes were a concern, and then I found a bigger concern, and it's just the fact that there will be people, it'll be indistinguishable for us to tell the difference between, is this a group of AI agents that are influencers that are they real people? Are they fake people? They will surpass us in population because they can copy themselves and be an instant maturity level immediately. It's going to be a really weird world. And I'm not concerned about somebody making some politician say something they shouldn't have said. I'm concerned about just humanity as a whole not being able to even understand what's real and what's fake.
Yeah. I really love that you brought this point up. I think this is a very important point which people probably should discuss more broadly. And I think very often it just goes back to the conversation about deepfakes and politics. And I really love that you bring up this different angle. So let me please go back 4 years. I was a head of generative AI in Snapchat, and TikTok was one of the largest advertisers on the platform on Snapchat. 4 years later today, teenagers in the United States, they spend more time on TikTok than on Snapchat and Instagram combined. This is absolutely crazy. This enormous growth happened just in a few years. The way how I think about that is Snapchat is about authentic connections, is about friendship connections. Instagram was primarily a way to subscribe to get updates from famous people whom you admire, like sort of different creators and influencers, right? And it feels to me that TikTok actually proved that we care about this. I mean, like in general, as humanity, we care less about this human connection to a celebrity. Like, let's say I admire David Beckham, or to my friends. We care less about these connections, and we are more willing as society to watch these random videos on TikTok. Because I call these videos on TikTok to be random because they're actually recommended by AI. I mean, very often we don't necessarily care if the video which we watch on TikTok, where it comes from. Is it AI generated or not? Is this person in the video, is this person real? Where does it come from? People just don't care. They just consume the content. So I think as humanity, we're already going in this direction where the authenticity of the content doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. And I think the solution for that is to go outside. Go stare at the woods, watch a live stream, like with fish in it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that and I definitely feel that we may be going in a way that large creators will be able to actually be like media empires through building these authentic connections, and a lot of traditional media who are basically reposting the same news will basically go down because their job will be automated by AI. I mean, AI is very, very good in taking, let's say, news announcements and transforming them to YouTube Shorts. I mean, there are lots of such content on YouTube Shorts already today. And I think kind of authenticity is going to matter a lot for creators to avoid being consumed by AI.
And before we get like too deep into it, I did want to say a special thanks to Google Cloud because they connected us. I was talking with Madison over there, and they have this special program where they give up to $350,000 in credits to AI startups that meet certain criteria. And when I was talking with her, I was like, all right, well, what's the criteria? And she gave me a link, which we'll post in the show notes. But I also said, has anyone actually like gone through the program and used it and had success with it? And that's how we got hooked up. So can you tell me a little bit about what your partnership is like with Google Cloud?
Totally. Google Cloud is amazing partner for startups. When I was back in Snap, we definitely used Google Cloud a lot. We had like these premium treatments. Google Cloud specialists were responding to us within a few hours. And this was not surprising because Snapchat is a huge customer of Google Cloud platform, right? And I was so surprised when we got the same level of treatments here at Higgsfield, like a very small startup of just 22 people gets this premium type of support where like turnaround times is sometimes just 1, 2, 3 minutes. And very often, actually, Google Cloud team operates even faster than we do, and they push us to implement certain recommendations coming from their sides. And this is absolutely true that Google Cloud supports startup and allocates these credits And I can tell you that sometimes it actually goes higher than just 100K.
And then are you speaking at the virtual Google Cloud Startup Summit on October 8th?
Yeah, I'm really delighted to be part of this summit. I think this is definitely, I think that, out maybe of large cloud providers, Google Cloud provides the best treatment for startups. And I think this is very important to build awareness about this so that, let's say early stage founders can make the right choice for their company, especially, and this is extremely hard to get the first steps right without having that much support. So, and Google is exactly this type of partner who can provide all necessary support. And what I like specifically about Google Cloud is that they have a set of different infrastructure solutions which allow to build application and scale it well, and actually focus on innovation, focus on delivering value to customer, while Google infrastructure can handle the rest.
That's pretty cool. Have you used Gemini at all?
Yeah, definitely. So we work in the video space, and what we build is basically multi-agent system. Definitely, video review is one of the key components of that. Out of all large models available there, including GPT-4o, including Claude model, I believe that we found out that Google Gemini is the only model which is actually able to do video understanding. Since we are working on longer form content creation today, being able to track consistency throughout the video is quite difficult task. And image-based systems, like one from OpenAI or Anthropic, may not be able to track the consistency across the video. This puts Google Gemini model really well and sets it apart from the competition.
Well, yeah, if you're going to generate a full movie, it needs to make sure the characters look the same across multiple scenes. They, can't be driving a red truck in one scene and then the camera angle switches and they're driving a blue car and immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So there is I guess Google Gemini. I guess we are seeing that there is a recent model by OpenAI which is doing some sense of reasoning, and very often we can see that for a very simple question, it goes with like 80 calls. And that's why it's so surprising that Google Gemini model has some sense of video understanding and reasoning behind that. And it doesn't need to do these 80 calls, right? It works much faster. This is really surprising to me. I think there is some breakthrough which they don't sell to the public.
Of course. Did you see the Notebook LM, the podcaster feature?
Yeah, this is truly amazing. I think, look, I can tell you privately that I was approached by multiple different large companies, large corporations, not like Google size, maybe a little bit smaller, but much larger than Higgsfield. And a lot of them are actually looking into the podcast space. This space got very quickly saturated by startups as well. So it felt like that's like a red ocean. And this is so surprising that Google is actually bringing best-in-class products in this space. A lot of creators say this is day and night. This makes a huge difference.
Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about your actual application. So I didn't have much exposure to it until today. I downloaded it. It was pretty good user experience, by the way, for onboarding. It struck a nice balance of showing me what it could do without being annoying. And so I thought that was pretty good. Can you tell me a little bit about what the most popular feature is in your application currently?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for the kind words. We definitely worked a lot on improving user experience. What we actually learned is that most consumers, they don't understand generative AI. I think this goes back to my time, and this learning goes back to my time on Snap. When we kind of we pioneered chatbot for large consumer audiences, but it's hard to communicate to a regular teenager in the United States what actually chatbot can do, what it cannot do. And here at Higgsfield, we had to probably launch 50 A/B experiments every month to get to this onboarding flow, which has quite high completion rates and very good and leads to a very good activation rate as well. I think we probably had over 30 releases of this mobile application called Reviews, and we actually came to the learning that the most retentive functionality is people watching themselves. People watching themselves to be hero of a story drives the highest engagement across all other use cases we have on the app. That's why we're working on a major updates to bring this concept to the next level.
Tell me about it. Can you share?
Yeah, definitely. We actually were able to achieve sort of a breakthrough in longer form content creation where videos of 5, 10, 20 minutes length can be generated with AI end to end. We're already seeing 100x cost efficiency in terms of the production, and there is no physical production involved at all. This is really exciting, and eventually we believe we will open this as a platform to enable people creativity.
20 minutes is the length of a TV show without commercials.
Yeah, exactly. And the way how I think about that, it is just going to be a new media format. This is a really deep topic, but let me please try to go a little bit deep into that. I studied the history of innovation really carefully, and my parents are professors, so I try to take scientific approach as much as possible. I have obviously a computer science background myself, so I really looked at the kind of consumer space from the data perspective. We have seen a huge burst of successful consumer companies around maybe 12 years ago. We have seen Uber, we have seen multiple hyper-casual companies, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on. All these companies were actually propelled by increased adoption of mobile phones usage. And I think generative AI is just going to create a new wave of consumer companies. There are some changes in consumer behavior, like people are willing to watch this kind of random content on TikTok. We definitely also see that mobile native content brings a lot of value, and there is actually a very new trend in the United States that there is a new genre of content called short drama, which is actually exploding. So short drama content is basically a type of content where each show is just 100 minutes and it consists of 100 episodes. So one episode is roughly 1 minute. There are 3 companies in the United States, Shortmax, DramaBox, and Real Short, which already dominate these markets, and they total make around $1 billion a year in revenue. This market grows more than 10 times year over year. This market in China is already at $5 billion. So, and I think so. This actually tells us that there are lots of unmet needs on the video consumption side. That kind of consumers wanna find more mobile native content, and I think this is a very interesting change in consumer behavior, which can be clearly filled with AI. That's why we work very hard to make this true. And we bring the differentiation to the market by actually enable this personalization, by making consumers to be the hero of a story.
They're making 100-minute video series, but each episode's a minute, and they're just posting it on their feed. So people see this come through the feed, and they start following this story. Essentially, it's like following a movie feed. That's crazy. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So these companies, these companies, they take a very aggressive approach. They promote heavily through social media. you get only 5 videos for free. Then you have to go to the mobile app. And then you can watch the rest.
Oh, that's what they're doing. They're emotionally captivating you and having you buy into the characters in the story so that you want to understand the resolution of the storyline.
Exactly. And
Brilliant.
I think they changed the streaming model. Typically, the way how streaming used to work is people subscribe for Disney Plus or Netflix, and they kind of forget about this. They pay maybe $8 a month, then $10 a month, and I think today Netflix and other companies, they charge $20 and more. And these short drama content producers, they actually figured out that consumers are more willing to pay smaller amount, maybe $1, maybe $2, just to unlock the next episode. And very often, eventually, consumers spend more than a regular monthly subscription. This is actually fascinating. That there are still opportunities to create a new business model, and there are still unmet needs in the consumer space, because it feels like it's already saturated. It feels there are all the companies, they are copying each other functionality. That's why I'm so excited about working in consumer space, because these changes, because we live through these we live through these exciting times when consumer behavior is changing, and clearly generative AI can address these unmet needs. So this is the time where...
Sorry, women buy this more, right?
This is actually another very interesting...
Yeah,
this is actually another very interesting. This is actually another very interesting topic. So when I looked into this, I had the same intuition. It's like it's likely 70% consumers are women, or maybe from 70 to 80. When we launched this in our mobile app, we actually have seen that, that's in our early experiments, we're seeing that women are more attached to this content. In the same time, one of the companies in the space called DramaBox, they actually have parity between female and male. So the ratio is roughly 1:1. That's why it's actually, and I think I have decent intuition about consumer experiences because I work in the space for 10 years. That's why I still can't understand that men get hooked to this soap opera type of content, like, romance novels type of content. So I think there are lots of, and I think that's where probably AI is going to do like better job. Like, I think the future of interfaces is obviously going to be very different. Mm-hmm. I can try. I mean, my kid is he's 21 months old today.
Oh, congratulations! Nice.
Yeah, and I think I'm already seeing that he's much more open to voice interfaces. This gives me a sense of hope that he will not get addicted to just the screen, and that this is gonna be like voiced, hands-free interface in the future, being the main way how we communicate with AI.
I think that it's definitely not the glasses, as Zuckerberg said. But I think it's the voice. My kids love Alexa. They've been using Alexa since they could speak. And my kids are 7, 5, and 2. So,
wow! Congrats.
Yeah, and they love Alexa, and yeah, they're really easy to adapt to technology. And we notice their habits too. Like, we have a couple rules. One of the rules is that they're only allowed to have like 3 apps on their tablet that are like fun or games or something like that. Everything else has to be educational or school. And those 3 applications that they're allowed to have for fun must offer a paid version of it, so they don't have to have ads, because I refuse to subject my kids to ads. It's like giving the advertisers a direct pipeline to your children. And so they can't use any technology that can be injected with ads. So we'll pay for whatever application they want. But that's our family rules. And typically it's pretty cheap. It's $3.99, no ads forever type deal.
This is really smart. I think your decision about limiting exposure of your kids to ads is really smart. Working in the space, I can tell you that a lot of other companies, they actually buy user data. And I think we know about this Cambridge Analytica scandal from 2018, I guess. Definitely since then, Apple introduced a lot of privacy measures, although user data market is still huge, and these data is getting aggregated, and the level of personalization is actually insane. So that I always try to lean towards the types of media where I don't get exposure to ads.
Me too. I want to be respectful. I know you have a hard stop. Anything else we want to get out there to the world?
I just think we all need to be positive about the future. I think there may be some harmful applications of this technology, although we have to really focus on making it useful for humanity. Maybe a lot of people, they exaggerate how quickly, including myself, probably we all a little, since we're technologists, we're probably are a little bit overhyping generative AI and say that 90% of pixels will be generated with AI in the next 3 years. This may be overstatements, maybe, but maybe not. In the same time, clearly in the next 10 years that's going to happen, right? So one way or another, we need to make sure, regardless of our views of how quickly the technology progresses, we need all to work to make this actually net positive for all of us.
Yeah, and that's not hard for me to believe at all, especially when you get down to, well, what is a generated pixel in AI? Like, are you talking fully? Is it on top of a human mask? Is it special effects in a movie? Like, what is it? And I have some friends in the data center space, and they showed me a graph of what happened when generative AI hit the mainstream, and they are accelerating at an exponential rate. The amount of content being generated by generative models is going to dwarf the amount of content, and this is just the current mathematical function that humans generate. It's going to be crazy.
I agree with you. And I think going back to this point, I think there are lots of unknowns about the economic model, as there are certain challenges in the search space with attribution of materials to a specific media source. Like there are famous lawsuits of New York Times against OpenAI, and I think Forbes against Perplexity. I think videos are obviously much more difficult to produce compared to text. And this unresolved question of the copyrights related to generative AI may hurt us much stronger in relation to video generative AI. Today, this is very wild space.
It is, and I could talk to you about this all day, but I do know you have a hard stop. Thank you, Alex, so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Joel. Your podcast is amazing.
Oh, man, thanks for the kind words. Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend or a colleague who you think would get value from it. And if you have topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, either add me on LinkedIn or send me an email, joel@moderncto.io. Every time I get an email or LinkedIn message, it absolutely makes my day and inspires me to keep going.